The idea behind permaculture is that you want it to be good for the earth, you want it to be good for the people, and anything in excess goes back into the system. So even when we grow an excess of vegetables and stuff like that, instead of selling those things at the farmer's market, we feed those to our animals. And then our animals will take those vegetables and provide back to us in the form of eggs or meat or manure or sheepskins or wool. We get a lot more out of feeding vegetables to our animals, putting them back into our system, than we do selling a handful of vegetables at the farmer's market. So we're able to achieve all three of those main criteria for permaculture. It just works out much better for our system, and keeping everything in a closed loop system creates a much healthier system. We're not bringing in any outside inputs to do anything with our soils. The only thing I bring in would be animal feed, animal nutrients. Other than that, we're creating our own soil and system here as best as we can and improving it every year. I do all organic, no soy, no corn feed for my chickens. There's no reason to give the animals soy, and corn is basically an empty carbohydrate that can prevent uptake from necessary nutrients. So we've dialed in an organic feed that's free of soy and corn. It also allows people that have soy and corn allergies to eat our eggs. The egg production's starting to pick up every day here on these chickens. I've got about 150 young ones. I'm pushing about 5 dozen eggs a day now, which will be wonderful when they start getting bigger, because I can't supply the egg demand right now. And these are all roll-out nest boxes that I use so that the eggs don't get as dirty or broken, because at our farmer's market I sell unwashed, clean eggs so that people don't have to refrigerate them if they don't want to, and it's also an educational part of me being at the farmer's market. We use all certified organic hay from Gindin Farms, but being that it's the only certified organic farm that sells hay to us, you know, sometimes the hay isn't optimal nutritional value depending on when he can get into the fields to harvest the hay and bale. You know, if the fields are too wet and he can't get on, then sometimes it's past its optimal nutrient value. And so I supplement our sheep with organic soy, organic corn, organic barley, organic oats sometimes, to make sure that they're getting the protein and the energy that they need to keep and maintain a healthy weight for them. So every evening they get a little grain treat in addition to organic hay. And that's why they're all really excited right now, because they know what's coming. So just like our laying hens and our broiler chickens and our turkeys, I feed my pigs an all certified organic grain feed that is also free of soy and corn. And it's been tricky dialing in this ration, but I think we finally got it to a point of I'm satisfied with it. Obviously the pigs are doing really well with it. They're all looking really good. We're doing broad-breasted turkeys again this year, because I take the turkey breasts off and then I smoke them and slice them for lunch meat. Because my family, when they leave the home to go to work or school or whatever, everybody takes food with them, and you know, we don't eat out much. So to have the smoked turkey breast for lunch meat is kind of a special thing for us. For Thanksgiving and stuff, normally I'll do the heritage breeds, but I didn't get any this year. I'm trying to cut back my workload a little bit. What we've got here is it's about 2 acres that we utilize out of our 6.5 acres for a permaculture system. And part of the permaculture idea is that you have a system that entirely works together. And so what we do with our livestock here, we have them all integrated with the sheep and the turkeys and broiler chickens and pigs and layer hens. Everybody's out here in the same area, and eventually what will happen is I'll clean up all these pens every so often, so I have the nitrogen that I need. That's already mixed with carbon in the form of hay that's on the ground from the sheep, straw in the turkey and chicken pens, and wood chips in the pig pens. And then I end up with a diverse combination of carbon and nitrogen for my compost piles. That's part of the zero waste system, is that all gets composted into soil building material, and then we end up building Hugelculture mounds with it, and we amend our soil in the greenhouses and outdoor grow areas in our perennial gardens every spring, every fall. We've done a lot of soil microbiology work, looking at our compost and soil samples from the greenhouses and stuff under microscopes, trying to learn more about the microbiology and what our soils and what our compost piles are either exploding with or lacking. And you know, one of the things that we realized here was that my compost was good quality. However, there was a lot of room for improvement because it was a lot of bacteria in the compost, which is fine because other life needs the bacteria to feed on. And so one of the things we talked about was having to get more carbon into the compost piles. And so this year I've had 3 tree companies dropping off wood chips for me, and I'm trying to get enough of a collection to where I can allow a bunch of it to age for 1 to 2 years so that it becomes a very fungal based carbon resource for my compost piles. So here we've got the compost at different stages out here. You know, this pile here has been composting for quite a while. It's just about done. It's really starting to smell like a forest floor, which is what we're after. Nice brown color. It still probably has to be turned 1 or 2 more times before it's completely finished. But it's not hot anymore. And you know, I've got compost thermometers in 3 of these piles right now. You know, this one is sitting at almost 130 degrees. The idea is to have the center of these piles reach about 160 to 165 degrees for at least 24 hours, and everything on this pile needs to hit that center temperature for at least 24 hours, and that's why you turn the piles. It's cooking off any of the things that we don't want in there. You know, our food is only as good as our soil, so we've been really focusing on soil health for several years, and it'll prevent disease and it'll help prevent pests, and a lot of that is because your soil's healthy, so it also brings in predator bugs that'll take care of the pests. So you have to create this environment for the optimal health of your plants when you're doing organics, because we're not spraying synthetic pesticides and herbicides and things like that. Here's a tractor trail that I've made through the woods, and it's right across from where I have my wood chips and my compost piles and stuff. And what that allows me to do is more efficiently move the compost when it's done over to this side, because we've got several hugel mounds over here. We're pushing about 10 hugel mounds now. We usually build a new one every year, but we're kind of running out of space. So I think we're probably just going to start fine-tuning and continue improving the system that we've got in place now, which is mostly what we've done this year, and you know, utilizing a lot of the wood chips along the borders with the hopes of weed suppression, introducing more of that fungal activity that I was talking about. So back here we've got one Hugelculture mound here on the north side that's all perennial stuff. It's got blackberries on the first half with newly planted asparagus this year. And then we've got multiple mini hugels here that have blueberry plants on them right now, and we'll add more perennials to these next year as well. The idea behind Hugelculture is to realistically put perennial plants on the hugel mounds, and you know, if you build your Hugelculture mounds big enough and well enough, they will continue to break down compost and feed whatever you've planted on them for several years, like up to 20 years even. Almost all of our hugel mounds here are perennial based, except for we keep a couple of them for planting annual things. And this is an example here. You know, we've got some holy basil down at the bottom surrounding the perimeter. Then there's Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and kale. You can use them for annuals for sure, and they work well for that. But the idea of getting perennial plants established long-term on Hugelculture mounds that are very low maintenance, their water retention is really high, and they continuously just feed whatever's growing on them. So they're virtually maintenance free. I don't have to water these near as often as you would have to water inside of a greenhouse or a flat garden, for example. I had zero knowledge on permaculture when I started this, and now we've got a very successful permaculture system in place, and you can too.